All right, so you got your 3D printer set up and you want to start printing, but you have no idea how to get started. I'm going to teach you guys step by step from start to finish on how to get your first 3D print model. Step 1, what you want to do is preheat the nozzle and preheat the bed. So what you want to do is you want to set the nozzle to 195 and then you want to set the bed to 60. Because you're most likely printing in PLA, it's okay if it's 195 for the nozzle and the bed for 60. It varies from different type of filaments, but most likely you're printing in PLA, so we're just gonna stick with this. Oh, and also, don't worry if your 3D printer is different. Mine is a Solvo SVO6 Plus, but you could have a Bamboo or a Prusa, and it still works the same way. Every 3D printer are almost exactly identical, especially the FDM 3D printers. So don't stress it, it'll still be the same. Alright, so step 2, let it preheat and we're going to go get our filament set up. Okay, so most likely your filament is sealed in a nice tight plastic, which is okay because that is to keep moisture out from the filaments. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to cut the thing and unseal it. So it's usually wrapped around like this, so we're going to go untangle that. So we're not going to put it in right away. We're going to take some cutting pliers, and what we're going to do is we're going to cut it 30-degree angle so that it has like a nice sharp tip. What we're going to do is we're going to take the filament, make sure it's not tangled. We're going to go ahead and start putting it right on top. So for my machine, it has a filament sensor. And what the purpose of this is for if the filament runs out, then that means that the machine pause until you be able to install a new filament to replace the old filament. The most important thing is as long as you get your filament through the hole that's right on top of your hot end clip. What I like to do is once I put it in, you could either manually turn the knob if you have this. You can also go to your settings. You want to go to extruder, and then what you want to do is extrude at least 50 millimeters just to get some stuff out. So what you want to do is you want to let it extrude, get rid of any extra filaments that was left behind by any other filaments. So when you buy a new 3D printer, sometime inside the hot end, there's a protective coating that the manufacturers put in. What you want to do is you want to extrude that protecting coating out of the nozzle and bring in a new filament in. If it gets a little bit difficult, you can actually help it extrude by pushing slightly down on the filament so that it can help push the filament out. So step 3, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be calibrating the machine. The one thing I only focus on is calibrating the Z height, basically making sure that these are both like the perfect 90-degree angle. Some 3D printers come with manual knobs that's on the bottom of your bed that you have to manually adjust. So right now I'm on a home page of my 3D printer. What I want to do is go to leveling. So right now the 3D printer is trying to figure out where the home set is at. Most 3D printers default is right down the middle of the bed. So for my 3D printer, it has auto Z align and it also has auto leveling. I'm not a big fan of the auto leveling, but I am a big fan of the auto Z line. So I'm just going to use that. For the way my 3D printer works, it's going to go all the way to the top and it's going to bang all the way to the top, and then basically it's going to make a loud noise, but don't worry, that's quite normal for the Solvo SVO6 Plus. So basically that's the sound that it makes. All right, for calibration, because we already did the Z alignment, so the next thing what we're going to do is we're going to take a piece of paper and we want to make sure that the nozzle is actually close enough to the bed, but not too close or too far. We're going to measure the distance from the nozzle to the bed. So on your computer screen, you should be able to measure the nozzle from the bed or the bed from the nozzle. So what you want to do is you want to keep playing around with the piece of paper, making sure that it's still loose, but just tight enough where it's close to the bed. If you're still able to move around freely, it means that it's not close enough to the bed. So you got to keep slowly going down onto the bed. Once it gets a little bit harder to actually move the paper, that's when you know you're set and ready. Okay, so the 3D printer is all set for calibration. The next thing I gotta do is I gotta get the SD card. So the SD card for this one is located right here. I just click on it and it just pops out. It's actually in the most annoying spot to take out, but yeah, Solvo SVO6 needs to fix that. And just in case you have a different 3D printer, there's most likely a chance that you either have a USB, Wi-Fi, or using Bluetooth to connect to your 3D printer. For my Solvo SVO6, I happen to have a little SD card just like right here. So just give you guys a heads up. Okay, so right now we're on my computer. The first thing we need is actually an STL file to start printing. So just like everybody, the first print is always a 3D Benchy.
The website I'm using is cold3d.com. I'll leave this whole link down for you guys, so in case you want to use it. But we're going to be using this as an example because this requires no support, and I want your first 3D print to be a success. So we're going to go ahead and download the STL file, and what we're going to do is we're going to upload the STL file to your micro SD card, or you can upload it to Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. So right now I'm in my slicer program. It's just a Cura program. It's the most popular used slicer for 3D printing. There's also other slicers out there. There's like Creality Slicer, ID Maker Slicer, Simplified 3D Slicer, Bamboo Studio. But I personally like the Cura because it's my first 3D slicer and I find it easy to use. So all the slicer does is basically turn STL files to G codes to help you 3D print any models. So we're going to go ahead and set up your slicer. So what you want to do is you actually want to go up here. You want to go to Setting, Printer, and then go all the way over here to Manage Printers. I'm not sure if you set up your presets of printers here, but mine came with it. But what you can do is if it doesn't come with it, you can hit Machine Settings, and then you can change your size of your printer from here. Not sure why this is 310 when, to be exact, it's actually 300. So I'm just going to go ahead and change that. So basically the width is 300 and the Y is 300 and the Z height is 340. So I set this up, and so make sure you know your X, Y, and Z. All right. So once you get your 3D printer set up, now this should be adjusted to the same as your 3D printer. Now, the next thing what you want to do is you want to make sure that you upload your STL file. So we're going to go ahead and go to File, and we're going to go ahead to Open Files. And then we're going to go ahead and click the 3D Benchy STL. And there we go. Okay, so right here is your first 3D printed Benchy. We're just going to keep it the same size as right now because I want your first 3D print to come out a success. So what we're going to do is we're going to preview what it looks like when it's 3D printed. And so this is how it looks. You can actually change some of the quality of it. So right here, I have it on extra fast, which will make the line really thick when it comes out. So I don't want to extrude really thick. I kind of want to extrude it normal. So it's looking a lot better and look a lot more finer. So you want to go check out the build plate adhesion. So you want to click on that. And then basically you have option to pick skirt, brim, raft, or none. My favorite build plate is actually brim. It basically keeps the model stuck onto the plate a lot better than all these other build plates, in my personal opinion. So once you do click on that, you want to click on print, and then basically get it all set up, and it should look exactly like this. So once you're all set up, you're going to go ahead and save it to your SD card, USB, or Bluetooth it to your 3D printer. Okay, so once you get your STL file all set up in your micro SD card, it's time to start printing. So go ahead and plug your SD card. Now, before I start doing anything, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe clean the bed with isopropyl alcohol to make sure it's free of debris or dirt. Make sure it's nice and clean. So the printer is all set up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go ahead and select the file. And I'm going to go ahead and click the Benchy and hit print. So what it's doing right now is just calibrating on its own again. And that's quite normal. So you're going to see it's going to start 3D printing. Alright, so if you guys like any more of my project, I made a couple of videos of building statues, and if you guys like to see more of them, you can check them out here.